ladies stand in line at a grocery store, both seemingly dressed like they had just gotten off a long day at work. High heels, leather bags, their blow dries flattened by humidity and hours. The two ladies half smile at each other as they get closer to the cashier to fill the awkward space between them. The first lady gradually makes it to the front of the line, even though that day the two ladies stood behind only a total of 2 people. The lady in front of the other lady grows increasingly frustrated as she gets to the front of the line. She looks to the lady behind her, throws her arms up, snarls, and swipes her eyes from the bag person back again to the lady behind her. She punctuates this nonverbal declaration with a wide-eyed stare, indicating that she had assessed the speed of the bag handler. She did not approve. "Unbelievable," she says to the lady behind her, as the lady behind her seemingly seems to be of the same cloth and by default the same thinking. "Clearly this line is being poorly managed," she conveys with dramatic discomfort. But the lady behind her is not of the same thinking and surprises the lady in front of her when she buries her chin into her neck, cocks her eyebrows, and opens the channels of her nostrils with intentional absurdity and says, "I think, lady, you're unbelievable." "We are not of the same cloth, the same thinking," she shrugs. And the lady in front of the other lady struts off. And the cashier, the bag person, and the lady behind the other lady stand in a silent triangle of agreement.
My name is Leanne Libas. I'm a 2017 Saddleback College alumnus. After I graduated from Saddleback College, I transferred to Cal State Fullerton and I received my bachelor's degree in January 2020. I feel honored for this opportunity to speak out and spread my message. I possess various labels such as daughter, sister, aunt, friend, and dog owner. While I have these labels, the one label that throws a lot of people off is autistic. I have been sharing my story and experiences over the last 6 years through social media and public speaking forums. If you are unfamiliar with my story, I'll give you a condensed summary because there are so many details that I cannot fit within a small time frame. I was diagnosed with autism at the age of 4, and I got diagnosed again at 18 years old because of paperwork issues. I didn't find out about my autism diagnosis until I was 11 years old, when I was reading through my individualized education plan papers. My parents didn't disclose my diagnosis to me because they wanted to protect me. They wanted me to live a normal life. Unfortunately, this discovery led to many years of self-hatred and resentment towards my parents. It took me a long time for me to get to a place where I accept myself as an autistic person. I eventually unlearned all the biases I had about the disability community and myself. My parents and I resolved the resentment that I had towards them, and now they accept and understand me for who I am. After I attended the 2014 California's Youth Leadership Forum for Students with Disabilities, I decided to become a disability rights advocate. I'm an advocate for many reasons. I want to change how disabilities are perceived. I want people to know that disability rights are human rights. I want to reach out to others so they don't feel alone. That self-hatred that I had almost cost my life, and I don't want anyone to experience what I experienced. Most importantly, I speak up because I want to encourage other autistics to share their stories and experiences, whether they are old or young, self-diagnosed or diagnosed, whether they come from different cultural backgrounds, and whether they use other modes of communication. If there is one thing to take away from my message, we need to amplify autistic voices because our perspectives matter. We experience autism on a daily basis, and our opinions should be considered. For so long, autism was seen as something to be eradicated or reduced. This rhetoric was originated through negative stereotypes and misconceptions about autism. The perception has been gradually changing thanks to many autistics sharing their experiences. Nevertheless, we still have a long way to go. We don't want to be seen as anything less. We deserve love and care just like anyone else. While we have our struggles, we have our own unique strengths. I hope that we empower autistics to live authentically, to speak their truths, and to be confident about their worth and their abilities.
My name is Heidi Ochoa. I'm a communication studies professor, and Saddleback College is so excited to welcome Dr. Blythe Corbett, who is the author of Improvement in Social Competence Using a Randomized Trial of Theater Intervention for Children with Autism Spectrum Disorder, which was published in the Journal of Autism Development Disorders. I'm so happy to have her here because she is going to give us a little bit of information about the relationship between education, autism, and theater. Hello, Blythe.
Hello.
How are you?
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm great. Appreciate it.
It's so good to have you here. As I was saying pre-interview, my son is autistic. I'm a communication studies professor, and I also have a master's in theater. And for whatever reason, all these pathways have led me to you online, and I just cannot be more excited to share this work with my local community. So thank you again for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
I do want to give a little bit more background about you. First, before we get started with the question, you are Professor of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences, Professor of Psychology, Director at Vanderbilt University Medical Center Internship, Director at the Sense Lab, Investigator at Vanderbilt Kennedy Center. You have a lot on your hands.
A little busy.
I am so impressed by you. When I read your titles in your email, I was like, oh my goodness, that's a juggle.
Let's just say I love what I do, okay?
And that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
I really do believe that once you find your internal motivation, you just find projects for yourself all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with my first question. How have you used theater-based interventions to help individuals who qualify for an autism diagnosis, and what joy have you discovered in this line of work?
Those are great questions. So I should give you a little bit of history. I started back in 2009 and created the Sense Theater program. It was really, I saw it as a way to combine art and science together. At the time, I was a clinician and a researcher studying children, adolescents, and adults with autism spectrum disorder. And to be honest with you, like you, I also have a theater background. And so I really understand how impactful it can be to enhance our social communication skills as well as other skills. And so in the back of my mind, I had really wanted to kind of pull these worlds together. So we have put this together in a formal intervention research program to be able to not only use theater, but also actors who we think of as experts in reciprocal social communication and cognitive flexibility and behavior, and really being able to learn a lot about the human condition. And so those are really the interventionists in our program, our actors. And then we put it together with a program where it takes advantage of a lot of things that, as you know, we do in theater, such as role playing, performing a play, singing, choreography, improvisation, all these things together. And what we have found is it is an excellent training ground for individuals on the autism spectrum to be able to enhance their social communication skills, but in a fun and safe environment. And that taps into your second question, that even though we're not measuring joy, for those who join our program, many of them are finding it to be just an extraordinary environment where they're able to kind of find their inner voice, to be able to learn from others, and to recognize that engaging socially with others can actually be quite rewarding. And so while we're measuring that through research, we also see it on their faces, on their parents' faces, the joy that they are experiencing as young people on the autism spectrum.
Beautiful. And, it makes a lot of sense to me because, before I found theater in my life, I had a lot of anxiety, and I really found that theater helped me rehearse life. So then I can then bring back those skills, and I can totally see those kinds of activities working for autistic individuals who are particularly challenged by anxiety, which is a very big part of our human condition, particularly now.
Oh, yeah.
So theater is this beautiful space to rehearse communication and to make those connections. And I love this emphasis on safe space, because I truly do believe that when we approach a space knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect, that something's going to come out and we get to try it again.
That's right.
In a loving environment,
yeah,
that's where the real work can really happen.
Yeah. And I think inherently actors and just theater in general, more broadly, it's an empathic environment. Yeah. And so, that's what we tell our kids. We take risks too. We put ourselves out there. And when we can model that for them. And
Absolutely.
Then they're more willing to take risks.
Absolutely. And I think too, one of the joys that I've experienced as a communications instructor, and I use a lot of theater-based strategies to get students out of their own headspace also, is that in community-based environments, you might have somebody that walks in, observes the rest of the group, then tries out a skill, gets reinforced by the group because they're all applauding because they notice those connections. And then all of a sudden that person comes back with this crazy newfound confidence that just shocks you and the group. And that's the beautiful work I think I've always admired about theater and theater practitioners.
And we can see that too in the faces of the parents when they come to see the performance, because our program, it's roughly a 40-hour program, 10 sessions, and it culminates in the performance of a play. And you will see the parents' faces, some of them are like, I had no idea that they had that in them. And so that discovery for the family members is also extremely exciting.
Oh, I bet. I want to be in one of those audiences. And then I want to talk to all the parents. That's got to be really powerful.
It is. Yeah.
Wow. So, Curl, when you said you were on Ocean View, you didn't think you had to get the whole ocean, didn't you? Huh? Oh, yeah. fish couldn't breathe out here. Did my man deliver or did he deliver? And it wasn't so easy. You better believe they did, every single one of them. So you do like it, don't you? Girl, honey, these aren't the kids that we're talking about. They deserve the best. Look. They wake up, poke their little heads out, and they see a whale. And see right by the bedroom window. All right. You want to name all of them right now? All right? We'll name this half Martin Jr. and then this half Coral Jr. Okay? We're done. Nemo. We'll name one Nemo, but I like most of them to Martin Jr. Yeah. What if they don't like me? No, really. You remember how we met? Well, I remember. Excuse me, miss. Can you check if there's a hook in my leg? Or you gotta look that close because it's wiggling. Oh, here he is. Cutie's here. Where did everybody go? Girl, get inside the house, girl. No, girl, don't. They'll be fine. Just get inside. You, right now. No! Coral! Oh, there. It's okay, Daddy's here. Daddy's got you. I promise I will never let anything happen to you, Nemo.
Eliza, you're to stay here for the next 6 months learning to speak beautifully, like a lady in a flower shop. If you work hard and do as you're told, you shall sleep in a proper bedroom, have lots to eat, and money to buy chocolates and go for rides and taxis. But if you are naughty and idle, you shall sleep in the back kitchen amongst the black beetles and be walled by Mrs. Pierce with a broomstick. At the end of 6 months, you will be taken to Buckingham Palace in a carriage, beautifully dressed. If the king finds out you are not a lady, you will be taken to the Tower of London where your head will be cut off as a warning to other presumptuous flower girls.
Now, the doctors assured me that there's a real condition called anterior grade memory loss, or short-term memory loss. It's rare, but legit. Every time I see him, I catch a slight look of recognition. But he says he can't remember me at all.
Lindsay swore that girl looked like you. I told her it could have been you. You have a boyfriend. You're not a cheater. You're a good person. Please tell me it's not true.
Harry,
Is it true?
Harry, things are complicated.
Harper, why? He loves you. You're better than this.
Harrison, I love you, but you do not get to grill me for my personal life.
Part of you understands the truth, even as part pretends not to. Woman, this is the most important moment in your life. Don't run from it.
I don't know what. I can't breathe.
Good. You're almost there. Go closer. Feel the shape of it.
What are you doing? I can't breathe.
You're in a cell. They offered you a choice between the death of your principles and the death of your body.
I feel like I'm gonna burst.
You said you'd rather die. You faced the fear of your own death and you were calm. Try to feel now what you felt then.
How would I say this in the nicest way possible? I would rather hear the cries of souls burning in hell rather than that mixtape.
It's why you do what you do. It's who you are. But people need the church more than ever right now. You can feel it. And the cardinal may not be perfect, but we can't throw out all...
Derek, are you delusional? I'll turn you down 1,000 times before I let that happen.
Okay, Abby, I really care about you. Just think of all the sweet memories we could have.
Sweet memories? Wow, aren't you pathetic?
But Abby...
I'd rather you talk to Lauren than hassle me about this.
What did I do? What's going on, Abigail?
You're incorrigible, Derek. Of course I missed you, but I had to have time to think and process everything. I needed some space. And I also met someone. And I have a date that I need to prepare for Friday night.
Prepare for a date? It's a little dramatic. So, who is it? Who's this date?
His name is Jake. He's very sweet. Anyway, you never mentioned anything about you and Lauren. I would have thought you would have been ecstatic about it.
So amazing.
It was amazing. It was perfect.
What? Yeah. Derek, Lauren, what a surprise to see you guys here. We were just on our way from our musical to go grab a bite at a restaurant that Jake was so lovely to book.
So sweet. I'm sorry. It's just, she's an amazing person. You know, Derek, you've been best friends with her since 4th grade. It's, yeah, she's something else.
How'd your date go? It seems like to me it went pretty well. Maybe, is there a wedding in the future, maybe? Oh, I could help you find the venue. I could help you find a divine venue and make the wedding look amazing. I'll be in the groomsmen party. I'll be wearing a black and white dress with my patent leather Christian Louboutins. I can't believe he just confessed his love to me. He's right. We would never work. I'm not ruining our friendship. And I appreciate his honesty. But doesn't he know that we're the inseparable duo of Derek and Abigail? And thanks a lot, Derek. There's also the fact that I like Jake.
I heard from dormitory section that Derek left. What happened? Are you okay?
Oh, thanks, babe. You look quite handsome yourself. We did just need a night to us. You are very right about that. And, yeah, he just went back home to, where we're from to go study at university there because it's hard for him to be in the same state in university with me because he says he's like in love with me. But all that matters is us and our blossoming, beautiful relationship.
Well, if you do ever want to talk about it.
The journey is just beginning for us, and that's all that matters. It's not working. I'm still anxious out of my mind.
You're already becoming too dependent on them. We can't give you any more.
I'm leaving.
You can't. You're on a hold.
I like fashion, but I'm too ugly.
No, you're not. You just need a little makeover. I mean, I could do one for you.
Really, no one's ever done that. I don't have any friends. It's like that perfume you love that you can't stop smelling, even when there's something sour in it. You can't get enough of it. But guess what? He's never gonna leave me. He's always gonna want me. I will make you so sorry for what you've done to my family. Mark my words. On Monday, when Rhea asked me how my weekend was,
Yeah, so like we were in class and he wanted to play like Hello Kitty and I was like, ew, we're in class. Seriously? Like, no. Yeah, so I was like, just whatever, text me later. So anyway, how was your weekend?
it was nothing short of perfection. You say things that are so insulting, yet you say it with such subtlety. To put me down reminds me of a certain someone. It hurts me. I'm not ready to tell you who, because I'm not ready for that. I finished and then I stole the dog. Oh, world, you're too wonderful for anyone to realize you. Does anyone realize life as they live it? Every minute?
Pardon me, young lady. Would you happen to be Toriel?
Who's asking?
Pardon me. My name is Prince Seftis, heir to the throne, and this is my acquaintance. I was wondering if I could ask of you a favor.
What kind of favor?
Question: how can theater practitioners create a more inclusive environment for autistic performing artists?
Yeah, so I really like this question because we really need others to adopt this kind of approach. And so one of the things that we do is in advance of our programs, we provide training. And the clear majority of the people, including the theater directors that we've worked with, are naive to what is autism spectrum disorder and what does it mean to work with somebody who has a developmental disability. What does it mean to work with somebody who is terrified to engage with others and to get on a stage for the first time? And so we do training in advance so that they have a better understanding what is autism. Not that they have to become expert, but they have to be able to receive them with openness and acceptance and respect. And I think those are some of the key criteria that we need to make sure that our educators, theater directors, instructors that are out there, just like we would treat anybody, is again with openness, willingness to engage the person where they are at that moment in their life, and to try to create opportunities, like roles that they might be able to perform, and to be more flexible on what that might look like. Like the performance might not be exactly what you had in mind.
Right.
It might be better, actually. Yeah. It might be more interesting. We've had several events where things happen in the middle of a play, as you know, and the audience gets it. And there's tremendous joy there in recognizing, I don't think that was supposed to happen. Like the child who runs out in the audience to say hi to his mom, but then gets back on the stage and then is back in character. You're like, okay. But that's one of the wonderful things about live theater anyway. And so that sense of, creative forgiveness, I guess.
Yeah.
Just allow some natural spontaneity to happen too. Is really quite fun.
I've always loved that about theater. In my classroom, we do a lot of improv, and so some of my students, they're the most genius moments that either happen between us or for a sole performer was an accident, or wasn't supposed to happen, and that's where it is. It's so good. I love it. That's the kind of stuff that makes me well up in the classroom. I have to say, excuse me, this is why I do my job, right? Absolutely. And I think flexibility in character development and learning what can we learn from these wonderful moments, Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful. So my next question is, how can theater practitioners create a more inclusive environment in our theaters for autistic audience members?
Yeah, so there have been some efforts in this direction that have been really quite valuable on Broadway, off Broadway, smaller theaters, community theater. I think the fact, again, it's more flexibility in terms of, where will they sit? Can they leave in the middle of a performance if it becomes overwhelming? Can we provide, ushers who are going to be a little bit more aware of their needs? And can we provide them with sensory-friendly stimuli that might help them throughout the performance? Can we invite them when the show is not on so they can get used to the environment and what it's like to sit in the theater and to experience what's going to happen when the lights go off,
Right.
And with the opportunity that maybe afterwards they get to meet the cast, those kind of things. Some also create more sensory friendly environments so that maybe the lights don't go all the way dark, or maybe they don't obviously have strobe lights or things like that that could be very upsetting. So there's been some really nice efforts out there by a number of different theater programs to be able to help audience members so that they're more inclusive in their performances.
I love this. At one point in time, our college actually had outdoor theater, and it was really wonderful. It was called summer theater in our, and it was held out in our quad. And it was this great opportunity because a lot of the times our family can't go to a theater because we can't just leave a performance, or we're a little intimidated by the lighting or the noise, right? Like a movie theater can be really challenging, particularly for my son. And so we dodge those places, whereas an outside theater or an outside concert is so much easier because we have the choice to sit where we want to sit so that the volume works for us. Or my son, for example, likes to pace around environments. It's not much of a sitter. And so it's wonderful for us to be able to experience the outdoor environment as well. Now,
and also I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you go.
So identifying special performances. So that doesn't mean that, a theater program has to adapt every show. But, I know some have been able to highlight, well, on this certain date, it's going to be open to individuals with autism and developmental disabilities. And then also it's an opportunity for the community to rally and get volunteers and people, maybe undergraduate students, et cetera, to come and help out. They learn in the process as well. So it can really be a nice kind of synergistic, positive experience. But that doesn't mean they have to transform every one of their performances. But I think that's a nice win-win that some of the theater programs have opted to do.
I love this because I think sometimes when we first talk about potentially making a more inclusive environment, I think a lot of us go, how are we going to have all the resources to do that? Or how are we going to overhaul our entire program? So what I'm hearing is that your program is starting to make sort of incremental changes and building with your community.
Well, ours is mostly about the kids on the stage, but by nature of that, we already need to be flexible because we also know that many of our audience members are also going to be on the spectrum too. But hypothetically, if you have a theater program and you are not yet open to having actors on the stage, you can still have special matinee performances or something for the community who have an individual on the autism spectrum to come to specific shows.
I love that. Earlier, you mentioned providing sensory materials to your audience members. What might those look like?
So we also study stress in my lab, so we love stress balls. So I think we all benefit from those. But
me too.
Something like fidgets, things like that. Or like you were saying, your son likes to pace. So maybe there might be an environment where they can go ahead and do that and they're not going to block the view of other people. And they're just going to let him go, So those kind of things to just make it a little bit more accessible. So.
Yeah. One of the tools that we use a lot is either a weighted blanket or a pillow because my son likes that deep pressure. So we take that everywhere.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm at my final question. What advice would you give both high school and college educators in creating a culture of inclusion using theater as a tool for an educational environment or educational intervention?
Yeah, so one of the things that we do is, I mentioned before, is that our program is peer mediated. So we have individuals been trained about autism to be able to work with our children or adults. Same thing can happen in the classroom. So, in some school programs, you have a buddy system where, again, a buddy facilitates the individual on the autism spectrum to be able to, gain greater access to other peers, help with homework, getting from classroom A to classroom B, being able to provide just a little bit of extra support. Now, granted, I know that a lot of our kids, they do receive professional support, but it really sends a very powerful message. If, in addition to the educators, the actual peers and the students in the environment are also part of that inclusivity, right? That sends a very powerful message, not only for the child with autism, their benefit, but also the training of peers to be able to be more aware of people around them that have a disability and that they have the opportunity to lend a helping hand, to serve as a role model, to, extend themselves just a little bit more. So I think we can take more advantage of some of these great resources that are already in our classrooms, and those are other peers. And so I think that is something I think would be extremely valuable. And also the tools that we already talked about, and that is a little more flexibility.
Yeah.
Flexibility in terms of when we turn in assignments, flexibility in how the homework gets done, flexibility in terms of, engaging with others, having a little bit more time of facilitated socialization. Those are some of the things I think would be valuable if they're not already being implemented.
I think this is really powerful, not just in the learning experience, but also affirming that we appreciate the work of autistic performers in the class. Before we got online, I told you that I had stumbled upon autistic performers expressing concerns about their work not being appreciated and sometimes being upset when a categorically neurologically typical person is playing an autistic person when they could be playing autistic persons as well. And so I think that if we start creating a culture in our classroom that we appreciate the performer, that there's a bond between performers, then we're only going to contribute to that culture of casting.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because the one thing that is not obvious from reading our research papers, but we're extremely inclusive as well in terms of members of our program. So, like our accompanist, our music director, many times our leads are also individuals on the autism spectrum that we bring in, and they become part of our professional team.
Beautiful.
So, we as much as we possibly can, try to provide opportunity for adults on the spectrum to be able to be part of our group. Yeah.
When this is over, I so badly want to visit your team and have a tour. I really want to.
Yeah.
That would be so much fun for me and my family to check out.
Well, it'll be fun for us too, so I look forward to that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Doctor. I am so appreciative of you sharing your thoughts with us today. Is there anything that you want to add before we stop this recording?
I'm just thrilled that you are expanding these kind of programs where you are. I think the more that we're doing, the more that we are thinking more openly in terms of inclusion, the better off we're all going to be. There's a lot of ways that we can help not only the individual with autism, but the broader community to show representation on and off the stage. And so I just love the fact that you also have this vision, and I applaud you as well.
Well, thanks for paving the way.
Thank you.
It was so good to meet you. Thank you so much for joining the Saddleback College community.
Thank you so much.
When any of our children are first diagnosed with a disability, we, as parents, are provided with ample advice, facial expressions, and literature that all indicate that this moment is only the beginning of the pathway to losing ourselves. Messaging must be reframed. There will be some losses. Sure, there are always losses in any pathway, an education, a career, a relocation, a marriage, a birth. Yet, for many of us, Parents, a diagnosis is actually the beginning of us finding and becoming ourselves. Our child's diagnosis is not our tragedy. Our child's diagnosis may be part of our household comedy. Our child's diagnosis may be part of our household drama, in the same way that a unique trait of your family members finds its way into the script of your lives. For many of us parents, what becomes of us after our children's diagnosis, if supported by the right resources and sometimes even without, is a voice satisfied by joy and fortune. My son's diagnosis is not a loss of mine. My son's diagnosis is not a loss of my family's. No, it was a gain. It was a new trajectory, not a tragedy.